Hey guys, this is Justin back with Engineer's Perspective, and today I'm going to take you through my Leatherman journey and show you how I got to where I am today. So it all started maybe 12 years ago or so when I was just a very young teenager, probably, maybe not even then. And at a shoot, I won this, the Leatherman wingman. Not this exact one, the exact one is actually lost somewhere, but I did buy a replacement because I liked it so much. But yeah, I got this when I was just young and I didn't really use it a whole heck of a lot. Mostly just bust it out when we'd go fishing or hunting, things like that. But I didn't really get a whole heck of a lot of use until I was in college and I was working as a student researcher in a lab, and the lab setups would need a little bit of tuning, fixing, changing, and that's when I really started to use this a lot and really kind of first grew my appreciation for a Leatherman and started carrying it regularly with that pocket clip. So kind of going back to high school is I had this one here, and then I wanted to carry a tool with me though in school, and we weren't allowed to carry knives. So I bought this here, the Leatherman style CS. Had the scissors and the bottle cap opener, this nail file doohickey there. And this was like my favorite knife tool thing for many years, and including that little knife there. So technically I wasn't allowed to carry it, but it was small and compact and discreet, so I did. So for a long time, this was like the best thing ever. Then I get to college, like I said, I'm working in the lab using the wingman, and I'm just finding that, you know, the non-locking tools are a big problem, and this style of wire cutter is just not really doing it for me. So one of my friends had two of these, and he sold me this one for a steal, and the Supertool 300. And this thing was awesome and still is, and I got a lot of work done with this guy working in the lab. So for a long time, this was my go-to. And then I ended up doing a co-op for 9 months at a sugar refinery. And initially, I wasn't doing much work in the plant other than just learning about it. But I was doing a lot of, just looking at things. So I didn't really need this tool. So I didn't carry this initially. Plus, I didn't really know what the environment was. You know, you don't want to be like the new engineer and look at me, I've got my big Leatherman on me. Well, you know, anyways, so at some point though, I did start wanting a tool, and my wife had one of these guys in a blue one that we've since lost. So I bought this one though for me, so I didn't have to keep stealing her blue one. And this guy was really handy to have for a long time. But as things got a little bit more intense at the plant and I started getting more involved, I found these small plier heads just weren't enough for me. So that's when I went into my local Shields and I picked up this beauty right here. And it's a Leatherman Charge Plus. And this is pretty much what got the work done for the rest of the time that I was there, and when I went back in the lab, and when I went back to the plant, this is what got the work done. And so I don't know if you can see all of the character on it, but it's held up really, really well. Really like this tool. So that was it for a long time, and this is when I start really getting interested in Leathermans. So for my birthday, I got one of these guys for kind of a more EDC, everyday friendly option, the Skeletal CX. I was really hoping the blade would help me just carry this and not an extra pocket knife, but I'm 100% a knife snob, and I just really like fancy pocket knives. So it didn't end up doing that. It does more now than it ever did before. So that's kind of funny. But really like the Skeletal. It's just everything you need, nothing you don't. And the way it pairs with like the compact or some other tools, it's just, oof, so good. Okay. So at that point, I then go back to the sugar plant after being in school again. And that's when I just kind of like take a deep dive into Leatherman tools and just start like experimenting with everything. So in that time, I bought the style PS. This as a tool, one of the few keychain tools I really go to now over top of this. So I really like the style PS. I've got the Micra. In a pawn shop, I came across one of these PSTs. That's pretty cool. It's like 30 bucks or so. Got the rebar. And for me, the rebar just wasn't really the tool I was looking for, even though I like the awl and this driver. That's what I bought it for specifically. But I just found that when I wanted what this had to offer me, I went to the Supertool 300. So I didn't really use it that much. Was then and is now just like my garage Leatherman. And I got a wave just for giggles. And I just always carried my charge over the wave. I did get that. And so that was kind of my experimentation. And of all of those, it was just basically came down to I'd carry my Skeletal for EDC sometimes. I'd carry my charge most of the time. And sometimes if I wanted to upgun, I'd go to the Supertool 300. So I did that for about another year, in and out of the lab, stuff like that. But then after I graduated, then I went full-time as a research engineer, and that's when I was doing a lot of building of lab setups, so a lot of welding, cutting, and grinding, plumbing sort of things. And I really felt like I needed more firepower than the wave or the charge, but I wanted this format instead of the Supertool 300 because the bit exchanger wasn't a big deal to me, but the file always kind of felt like it was holding me back, and I liked having them outside accessible. But the big one that drew me into the Surge was that diamond file, but also those scissors, those bad boys right there. So that really drew me in. I really like these three tools specifically right there. Those are pretty important to me. So that little one's good for control wiring, and I did a lot of that at the plant and did a lot of it as in my research. So the Surge was like my go-to. I built a lot of stuff with this for sure. And then at that time, once again, I mean, the free P2 kind of came out around this time, and mixed reviews, but I picked one up because at this point I'm just like addicted to Leathermans. And I used it in that hard use capacity, and I really like the pliers and I like the handles, but I just found the tool set to be a little unprofessional, I guess. In my opinion, tools shouldn't be polished, and I've got a video on this, so I'm not going to go into it, but I liked it. I thought it was good. I still think it is good. I think it's more of an upgrade to a Skeletal versus a replacement of like your wave or something. So the Surge was really the go-to that I had. And then got done with that, moved into more of an office desk job sort of a role. I was at Acme and they had a crunch, and I've heard so much about it, so I picked one up. I don't have a whole heck of a lot of use behind it yet, but it seems like it's good. Seems like it would have been nice to have, certainly at certain points. And then now it's kind of culminated in this guy right here, the Charge G10 Earth. So it's my first black oxide tool, and it's got the G10 handles. I was curious if they'd be more or less comfortable than the aluminum versus the standard. I'd say comfortability, it probably goes standard by a long shot, G10 aluminum, and these two are pretty similar. The G10 handles aren't worth the upgrade over this, but regardless. So I got this. I'm very excited about it just because at this point I just love Leathermans. It's got the S30V blade. That's not a super big feature for me because I like having lots of other knives. But I'm gonna do some testing between the S30V 154cm and the 420HC coming up here, so that'll be interesting. But yeah, so this is kind of the culmination of my Leatherman journey here. There's nothing currently that really interests me. I've got lots of Leatherman accessories, things like the bit kits, and I've got the new ratchet and just all sorts of things like that. But yeah, in terms of the models, this is it for me, I think. So that's my Leatherman journey. If I'm doing hard work, I go for the Surge, and if I'm in my everyday, I go for the Charge. This will probably be my new one going forward. And if I'm just looking for an EDC tool, it's either the Skeletal or the Free. So this is kind of my lineup. Usually I choose a Skeletal. So there you go. That's my Leatherman journey. I hope yours has been good as well. I'd like to hear your stories, so if you have any, please leave it down in the comments. Thanks for watching. Bye.